Banner Knowledge Bowling, I'm Steve, and we're back in the classroom, and we're here to talk about our third topic, why don't I strike? The reason I'd like to bring this topic up is the other night when I was in league, our team was leaving a lot of corner pins, and the teammate said, why don't I strike? I'm right where I should be, and I can't seem to knock all 10 pins down. What we actually did was we went online, we looked at some videos, some very good videos, and it talked about entry angle and 6 degrees, 7 degrees, 8 degrees, and what was optimal. And the teammate looked at me and said, that's great, but what do I need to do? Why don't I strike? And I thought, brilliant. That's what we need to talk about today, because knowing technically why we're not striking is one thing. The adjustment we need to make to get back to striking is much more important, especially when we're in competition. So the first part of this equation is I want to go back to our first topic, skid, hook, roll. And if you remember, when the ball goes from the hook stage to the roll stage, number 2 to number 3, it is its most powerful. And we want that to happen as close to the pins as possible. If the ball is in the roll stage a long time, it starts bleeding off energy and it's not as powerful at the pins. So we as bowlers want to make adjustments so that we can get the ball from hook to roll as close to those pins as possible. Now I'm going to speak as if I'm a right-hander, and I'm going to speak also from the assumption that I made a great release. Obviously a poor release, much tougher to carry. So I'm going to speak as if we threw a great release. When the ball enters the pocket, one of three things is going to happen in this example. The ball will enter the pocket and deflect right and go through the 9 pin and leave the deck around 14 or 15. The ball will enter the pocket, drive through the pins, and leave the deck around 19-20, or the ball enters the pocket, continues to hook, and leave through the 8 pin, maybe around board 25. Now, as a bowler throwing the bowling ball, it can be pretty difficult to diagnose when the ball is in its skid, hook, and roll stages. If you have a ball rep behind you, that can help because they can see it. As a bowler, it's much tougher to see. What I'm going to challenge you to do is watch the ball leave the pin deck. If at first it's difficult for you to do that, watch your friends throw the bowling ball and watch them when they strike, where does the ball hit the pocket and where does it leave the deck? Once you get the knack for that, watching your own ball becomes much easier because that information is going to help you diagnose what's happening on the lane even if you don't see it. And then we can make adjustments so we can get back to striking. So, in my first example, on a well-thrown shot, the ball enters the pocket. However, it deflects to the right and it goes through what appears to be the 9 pin or leave the deck around board 15. What typically happens is you have the weak 10. 6 pin kind of lays in the channel and you leave that weak 10, even though you hit the pocket in the proper spot. What has most likely happened on a well-thrown shot is the ball was in the roll stage too long and it bled off too much energy. And by the time it got to the 1-3 pocket, it had less energy and deflected to the right. I would argue that your carry percentage goes down to about 60% or so on a shot like this. You can carry the 10 pin, but you're less likely. Now, the second scenario, I'm going to go where the ball hooks through the pocket. So the ball just skids and hooks. This ball enters the pocket, continues to hook, and leaves the deck through the 8 pin, or what appears to be board 25. Now, this can result in some pretty powerful strikes. The messengers happen on this type of hit. However, you leave a lot of smash 7s. You leave those smash 7-10s, the 4-9s. You can leave the 9 pin. So I would argue that although you can leave a 10 pin and the messenger comes across, knocks it down, your carry percentage is like that 75% range. Strikes look good, but we're here to knock more pins down than our opponent. I'm going to argue the ideal entry angle when the ball hits the pocket and leaves the deck is going to be through that board 19, board 20. where the ball actually hits 4 pins. It hits the 1, the 3, the 5, and the left side of the 9 pin and goes through the deck, maybe board 19, board 20. That's an ideal strike. In that situation, I would argue that in the skid hook roll stages, it went from hook to roll right at the pocket, rolled through the pocket, hit the 1 and the 3 pin, went in and had enough energy to drive into the 5 and get the left side of the 9 pin. I would argue that your carry percentage in there is probably above 95%. Sure, you got a round ball hitting round pins. Anything can happen. We all left 8 pins, the only true tap in our game. But what I'm doing when I'm competing is I'm watching my ball leave the deck. And if I threw it well and I see that ball hit the pocket and go to the right and go through that 9 pin, that's a signal to me saying, uh-oh, that ball's in the roll stage too long. Now what I need to do is I need to go to my 5 adjustments, and those adjustments that I can make. What can I do to manipulate the ball going down the lane so that it gets from its hook to roll stage as close to the pins as possible? In this example, if that's happening too soon, maybe I need to move left. Maybe I need to get a different kind of ball, different cover stock, weaker core. Maybe I need a different release. So we have those 5 adjustments that we can make, but how do I get the ball a little further down the lane so that it skids a little further before it gets into the roll stage? Now, if the ball's skidding and hooking, the ball never had a chance to get to the roll stage. So again, I'm going to go back to my 5 adjustments. Can I change balls? Can I change the core inside the ball? Can I change my release? Can I change my loft, my release, so that I can manipulate when the ball goes through those 3 stages? My goal as a bowler is to get that ball to leave the deck as close to board 20 as possible. And when that happens, I strike the most, and hopefully that will turn for you into more wins and more victories when you're out on the lanes. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, and I'll try to get to everyone. Thanks a lot.